the thing is with feature animation, you are often working frantically only to have the work changed. It's a very different animal in feature. Because features are being written as they are being made, you will find, and I was on, I don't want to reveal this in public too much, but I was on a feature where brilliant animator had done this beautiful sequence that once it was done and finished and approved and then colored, once it was in color, the directors went, maybe we should try something else. So it was thrown out. And the animator reanimated it, doing something a little different. And then they threw it out. And then they suggested one more thing. And the animator was halfway through when they scrapped that idea as well. And then they asked the animator just have the character stand. And that's the way it ended up in the final film, was the character just standing there. Now, that animator had spent 4 weeks animating this sequence 4 times and had been paid a tremendous amount of money for it. But features can get away with that. Unfortunately, it wasn't easy for the artist because things were changed so much. I have been on television episodes where after the episode comes back overseas in color, the writers have changed 80% of the episode. And then we get to work redrawing it all in 2 weeks to try and get those deadlines. That doesn't happen all the time. It's seldom that everything runs smoothly and perfectly. Especially since I've been a director, I work 12-hour days every day. But that's often because I'm juggling 3 episodes at once. I have an episode being storyboarded, I have an episode being edited, and I have an episode that's in color. And so there's lots of stuff to do. It's part of the business. There are also times when you'll have 3-4 weeks with nothing to do. And so that's when you run out and take your vacations and finally get to the piles of stuff piling up in your house or apartment. It depends on your position, but generally speaking, here's a little history. When The Simpsons first started, you had 8 people working for 8 weeks to do an episode. 8 people for 8 weeks. Later on, Family Guy changed the system and it became 4 people working for 6 weeks. And in order to go from 8-person crew to a 4-person crew, it basically doubled all the storyboard artists' work. Then we were doing 4 people for 6 weeks. And then I have worked on shows that took the 6 weeks down to 4 weeks. And so we were doing 3 people for 4 weeks. And I've even heard of shows where 2 people will work for 4 weeks. But a lot of those also are for the 11-minute episodes and not the 22-minute episodes. Needless to say, it is frantic. There's a lot of budgetary reasons why these are going on this way. The show should be upfront and clear with you what they expect. I'm sure you've all seen those wonderful videos on the internet where someone will draw, say, Spider-Man in 10 minutes, and then in 2 minutes, and then in 30 seconds. And you see the quality decrease as the time is decreased. And there has to be that accounting. If you want an episode done in 3 weeks, everyone has to be clear it's not going to be pretty. I always say, as a storyboard artist, you need to adapt to the schedule rather than try and work frantically or work 16-hour days to make the boards beautiful. If they are having such a fast turnover, then your drawings have to be rougher, and everyone's drawings will be rougher, and that's how it goes. Now, there are ways that can happen. For instance, South Park is done on a ridiculously fast time scale. Sometimes episodes have been finished start to finish in a week. That is because they simply take their models in the computer now and just stamp them down. They don't have to worry about any complex animation or complex compositions, and so it's possible. But of course, the show looks like it may have been put together in a week. That's part of its aesthetic, and so I would say to everyone, just adapt to the schedule rather than try and make the most beautiful work possible in an insane amount of time. And again, this will be slightly different depending on the type of show, premise, action, or primetime. But since I've worked so much in primetime, I'll let you know. It all starts with a script. The first script is then usually goes in for a table read, where all the actors come in and they read the script around a table so the writers and executive producers can hear how it's playing, what's funny, what fell dead and needs to be cut. Usually those scripts are pretty long because they want to go in and cut all the stuff that that didn't get laughs, so we're left just with the stuff that's funniest. After the table read, the writers rewrite the episode based on what laughs they did or did not get. That becomes draft 1. That draft then gets broken down by the director into sequences, and then production personnel go in and break down those sequences to see how many backgrounds will we need, how many characters, new characters do we need, how many established characters can we get away with in the background, how many props will we need. Those become master lists for the episode. As a director, I will then go and approve the list, which new characters need to be drawn, which new props and backgrounds need to be drawn. And I get a chance to pick 5 or 6 priorities that the design department starts on before we start the episode in storyboards. So if a character designer is going to do 100 designs for an episode, they'll start by doing the top 10. Now the storyboard artists are about to create 4,000 storyboards. So we want to have as many characters as possible designed so we can put the proper design into the storyboard. So that's why I give a priority list for character designs. Once we start the storyboards, depending on the show I'm on now, the director thumbnails the entire episode, and then I hand out sections to my board team for them to storyboard all the acting, all the final compositions, and so on. Other shows, the director will hand out sections, like each act, to a different storyboard artist, and they are responsible for thumbnailing, storyboarding the episode, meeting approvals the whole way. So that then takes, like I said, 4 or 5 weeks to storyboard the whole episode. That gets put together into an animatic. The animatic gets screened for the executives. The executive producers will then rewrite from the animatic. Now, as director, I've already moved on to the next episode. And of course, you know that you'll have 4 to 6 directors and their teams going at once. That's how you can get an episode finished every week for television. So as a director, you'll do every 4th to 6th episode. So while I'm already moved on to a new episode, the notes and rewrites from post-animatic go to a revision team. And that team is there just as fast as possible to adapt the new dialogue, the new notes to the existing storyboards. A new animatic is made, and then that is approved. Once that is approved, it goes to full design, backgrounds, all characters, all props, and also to timing, where timers will break down every action and dialogue to the frame to make sure what animation has to be done. And then that goes off to start animation, while the color department takes the designs as they get finished, colors them. The color joins the animation at your remote studio, whether it be overseas or a remote studio here. Atlanta and Texas are being used more often for remote studios within the US. And then everything comes back in color. Final sound is synced, and there will be a color screening. After that color screening, the executive producers will go and rewrite it again, and those become retakes. So we had revisions before, then we had retakes post-color. A retakes director and a retakes storyboard crew will make any last-minute changes. Those get animated super fast, and then you'll finally have an episode ready to go, all about 6 to 8 months later. I have been on a couple episodes of American Dad, where from the time I drew it to the time it aired on television was 2 years.